Well, one thing I noticed, if you look at this tree right here, see how the needles are turning brown and dropping off? That's a sign of stress, and my guess is it's drought stress, lack of water.
One of the things we have to worry about here in New Mexico is watering and how often we water. We can only water a few days a week, and we're not allowed to have any water run off into the street. If we have any runoff, we could get fined for that.
Well, we don't want you getting fined. So what I want to do today is install a drip irrigation system. It'll put the water down into the root system with no runoff. Lucas Blanco is our foreman on the job today. Lucas, what's the plan?
The plan, we install in 2 zones on this project. You know, we already installed 1 zone on the south side of the yard, okay? And now we're gonna jump to the 2nd zone on the north side of the yard.
What are you using for pipe?
For pipe, we're using this black tubing, which is coming out of the valve, okay? These will distribute the water, you know, to the emitters. You know, this brown tubing, you know, that's the emitter. You know, you'll get it in here, and it has an emitter every 12 inches.
Right, the black pipe is solid, and then if you look
That's
on
right.
here, see the hole in this pipe? That's what's going to allow a drip of water to come out and put the water right on the roots of the plant. Now, I know there's a lot of digging involved in this, right?
It sure is.
And I suppose you want us to do that.
If you have a shovel.
Show me where to get started.
Okay, guys, we're gonna start removing the gravel to run a solid pipe, you know, all the way to these trees, you know, so go ahead and start removing the gravel.
What we want to do, Chelsea, is just take the stone off of here, and there's going to be black plastic underneath. Don't cut the black plastic for now. I'll go down the other end and we'll meet in the middle.
Gravel doesn't move as hard as I thought it would.
What? Come on. This is the toughest part of the job right here. Now we have to talk about how we're going to get the water out to your plants. We're going to make a connection right here to our main line, and that's going to send water up here to these 2 valves. Now these are electric solenoid valves. They're controlled by a controller in the house, which will tell them to come on and off, and it's great. We have 1 for each zone. So we can tell it to come on for one and off for the other, or how long we want each one to run. So we have a real control over our watering. The water then comes up and hits the backflow preventer. This keeps dirty water from coming back down and getting into our main. Once it passes through the backflow preventer, it comes down and into a pressure reducing valve.
Why do we need the pressure reducing valve?
Well, you have pretty good high pressure water coming into the house from the street. If we sent that out to that drip line, it would blow it apart. This reducer will drop the water pressure to the optimum level for that drip irrigation to work. All we have to do is take and put this on the end, and we're hooked up and ready to go. But before we hook this whole system up, we need to clean the main out, right?
That's correct. So we're gonna flush it out right now.
There was some dirt in there, huh?
What we're gonna do now, we're gonna run water, you know, from the valves to this other side of the sidewalk.
Okay. I like the fact that you put the PVC pipe under there. It'll protect this pipe from getting crushed if the sidewalk ever moved. So what we're gonna do now, take the black pipe, run it right through. And I like that you put in a second pipe too, in case we wanna do electrical or something down the road. You got it?
Yep.
Pull it up a little bit for me. And I'm just gonna start working my way down the trench. All right, Chelsea, I want you to put a staple in to hold the pipe in place about every 2 feet. Now what I need to do is get a water line that runs down to our juniper. In order to do that, I have to cut our main feeder line. Okay, hold that for me. Now I'm going to put a crimp on here first. I slide the fitting in with the bobs in to hold it in place. And then I tighten up the clamp so that the fitting will never pull out. Now I'm going to put a crimp on here. I'm going to slide the other end on the other side. Okay, crimp that. And now we just attach the line running down to the juniper. Okay. And put the crimp in.
Now we're gonna cut this tubing to length. We're gonna insert this pinch clamp, this elbow.
And here's the drip line. You're just going to push that on, no clamps, right?
Correct.
And Chelsea, you just come behind and you just staple that drip line right in place. Now we're going to set up the drip system for underneath your ponderosa pine.
And why do we have 2 trenches?
Well, this is a large tree. We want to make sure that we get water all around this tree. If we put in a single line, we may not give it enough water. Watch out for those low-hanging branches underneath there. It's probably pretty prickly.
Now I know why you had me do this part.
Chelsea, we right at your heritage of the house. We already installed a black tubing which is solid and it doesn't drip. And to take the water to the hedge, we're gonna take this emitter, punch it into the 1/2-inch tubing, and run the 1/4-inch tube to the plant.
This is the heart of your system. This is your controller, only this is a smart controller.
What makes it smart?
Most controllers are just timers. All they can do is tell the system when to come on and when to shut off. This one takes in a bunch of information and figures a perfect watering for you. We'll plug in your zip code. That'll give it a lot of information. We'll put in soil type. We'll put in mature plantings. We'll put in which zone faces south, which faces north. And then it'll use all this information and compile a perfect watering system for your plants. But there's one more part to the smart system. Up here on the roof, we've installed a sensor. It senses 2 things. First of all, it senses temperature right here. If it's really hot out, the system will run more. If we have some cool days, the system will run a little less. Right through here, the rain falls in and we actually measure how much rain we get. The system will calculate that into how frequently it runs. Using that amount, it may shut down the system for 3 or 4 days before it lets it run. A useful tool for here in New Mexico. We've blown out all the lines and buttoned up the whole system except for this one little section of drip I left so you could see the water coming out of it.
Wow, that's not very much water. Is that going to be enough to keep my plants happy?
That's plenty of water.
You got to remember that the moisture is going to build up in the soil and that'll be great for the roots and great for the plant.